Senators, why is it that over these last 20 years there has never been an enemy of the Republic who has not also declared a war on me? With these words, Marcus Tullius Cicero basically signed his own death warrant. A little over 12 months later, Cicero was on the run from a coalition of his old friends and enemies who had installed themselves at the head of the collapsing Roman Republic. Soon after, his own head and hands were nailed to the speaker's platform in the middle of Rome, a grisly warning to others who might have considered opposing the new regime. But who was Marcus Tullius Cicero? Cicero was born in the quiet countryside of central Italy on the 3rd of January 106 BC. But the world around him was far from peaceful. In all directions, the Roman Republic was entangled in relentless regional struggles. Devastation then came closer to home as Italy's cities rose up to challenge Rome itself. This instability was briefly resolved by the two military strongmen, Marius and Sulla. But with each one wanting to be in charge, they started a civil war. Sulla eventually won, and used his victory to pass extremely harsh laws to prevent another conflict. Cicero entered public life in the aftermath of these disasters. He established himself as a lawyer. The law courts at the time were occupied with citizens who were unhappy with Sulla's harsh laws. Cicero threw himself into helping them to find justice and exploit their situation to put himself in the limelight. Within 5 years, Cicero was famous enough to be elected to the Senate at the earliest possible age. Power-hungry, Cicero continued to climb the political ladder. He was successfully elected to every office at the earliest possible age, a remarkable achievement for a man who did not have the family connections or military achievements of his aristocratic competitors. Alongside his success with Roman voters, Cicero also impressed his colleagues in the Senate. He demonstrated a moral commitment to the Republic by prosecuting the governor of Sicily for wide-scale corruption. He also gained the personal loyalty of other senior senators by defending them when they themselves were put on trial. Perhaps more importantly, he attached himself to the rising star of Roman politics, Pompey the Great, the undisputed military genius of the time. Thanks to these clever maneuvers, Cicero was elected consul in 63 BC, the highest possible office for a Roman politician. In so doing, he became the first consul from a non-senatorial family in 30 years. But success brought its own problems. Cicero presided over the Republic at a time of enduring chaos. Remember how Cicero had started out as a lawyer? He had defended citizens unhappy with Sulla's harsh laws. People throughout Italy were still upset by the way Sulla had ended the war, now 20 years ago. There was also widespread fear that Pompey would try and restart the war. As these uncertainties caused the economy to contract, armed revolts broke out throughout Italy. The Senate demanded that Cicero should do whatever he could with his consular powers to resolve the crisis. Cicero blamed all of these problems on a near-bankrupt aristocrat, Cataline, a man Cicero claimed was leading a conspiracy to overthrow Rome. Cicero managed to drive Cataline out of Rome. But then Cicero received evidence that there were yet more traitors conspiring to seize control of the city. Cicero had them arrested and spoke of their treachery to the Senate. The Senate voted to have the conspirators executed without trial. Cicero carried out the Senate's sentence and brought the unrest to a swift and brutal end. Almost immediately, Cicero faced criticism for this tyrannical display. In fact, it was illegal to execute a Roman citizen without trial. But Cicero doubled down. He was the saviour of the Republic, and he wanted to be seen that way. Unfortunately for him, not everyone thought he was a saviour. People thought that Cicero wanted to be another Sulla. In the mix, up came Clodius, a scandalous aristocrat who promised to send Cicero into exile. Clodius gradually began to isolate Cicero from his old supporters in the Senate. For a while, Cicero was protected by a shaky alliance he had struck with Pompey the Great, the undisputed military genius we met earlier. But Pompey was tempted into a coalition with two other great statesmen. Crassus, the richest man in Rome, and Julius Caesar, another great general with huge ambition. Together, this magnificent trio planned to use their combined power to advance each other's political projects. Here Cicero tripped up. He criticised this coalition, and they turned to support Clodius, the scandalous aristocrat, instead. Now Cicero was in trouble. He fled into exile, and Clodius quickly pushed through a law confiscating Cicero's property and banning him from returning to Italy. Cicero was gone for a year and a half. Eventually, Clodius became too populist for the allies who had helped him to exile Cicero. Cicero seized on the discontent and promised to support several important statesmen. Before long, he persuaded his allies to help him return to Rome. Over the next few years, Julius Caesar, the ambitious general from the magnificent trio, rose to power and created more and more political dysfunction in the city. And Cicero found himself sidelined. He was unable to operate independently as before, and he was also unable to retire because he owed the people who had helped him return to Rome. Paying off these debts meant arguing for political decisions he didn't agree with, defending criminals he didn't approve of, and even governing a province he would rather have never visited. Perhaps Cicero wondered whether it was all worth it. As Cicero struggled, the alliance between the magnificent trio of Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus shattered. Julius Caesar was paranoid about being undermined and invaded Italy. Pompey rallied the Senate against him. Julius Caesar tried to recruit Cicero, but Cicero decided to side with Pompey as a civil war yet again broke out. Cicero's timing wasn't great. Just as he allied with Pompey, Julius Caesar defeated him in a major battle. Pompey's military genius had been eclipsed. Cicero was forced to beg Julius Caesar to let him back into Rome, and while Caesar ruled as dictator, Cicero retired from politics and turned to philosophy. But once again, he couldn't be contained for long. Many senators shared Cicero's disgust for Julius Caesar's dictatorship, and they'd had enough. On the 15th of March, 44 BC, 60 senators stabbed Julius Caesar right in the Senate's chamber. His death created a sudden power vacuum. It was immediately filled by Mark Antony, a womanizer and Julius Caesar's ally. Although their relationship was close, they also had many public disagreements. By now Mark Antony positioned himself as the new leader of Julius Caesar's remaining supporters. Cicero initially supported Mark Antony as he tried to restore his own reputation once again, but in the end they fought bitterly about who should succeed Julius Caesar. Cicero supported Julius Caesar's 19-year-old nephew, Octavian. Caesar had named him as the heir to his property in his will. Mark Antony supported himself. More and more senators distanced themselves from Antony. Cicero now found himself commanding a broad coalition to prevent Mark Antony from taking Julius Caesar's place as the sole ruler in Rome. As they fought against Mark Antony, Rome's tradition of government by the aristocracy came to an end. Cicero was not successful either. As Mark Antony was on the verge of defeat, Octavian, the nephew, turned against Cicero and allied himself with Mark Antony. They immediately went after their new enemies, with Cicero among them. This time, there was no escape. As Cicero tried to flee, 2 Roman soldiers approached him. Cicero didn't struggle as they beheaded him and cut off his hands. They nailed these in public for everyone to see. Mark Antony and Octavian were not to be opposed. In fact, Octavian would later go on to fight and defeat Mark Antony, becoming the first Roman emperor and naming himself Augustus Caesar in honor of his uncle. Though he didn't live to see this happen, Cicero remains one of the most influential Romans to have ever lived. For better or worse, Cicero, an outsider and a self-made man, left a lasting mark on the politics of his era, fueled by greed, ambition, and betrayal, which resulted in one of the most significant social upheavals the world has ever seen. But Cicero was more than a savvy politician. As a keen philosopher and writer who always had more to say, Cicero left an important literary legacy for the modern world, which allows us to learn about his life and the life of those around him.